Mornings at Central Station were a spectacle of rush and chaos. Faces moved hurriedly, like waves in a noisy sea of voices and footsteps. Amid the smoke from the trains and the metallic sound of wheels on tracks, a melody stood out. It was the sound of a violin. A young man named Gabriel occupied the busiest corner of the station, playing with passion and hope. Gabriel was only 9 years old, but his hands told stories of hard work and resilience. His violin, old and worn, seemed like an extension of his soul. Despite the instrument's poor condition, he made it sing melodies that, even for a few seconds, paused the frantic rhythm of the station. Most people barely noticed Gabriel. To them, he was just another street musician. But to Gabriel, that small corner of the station was his stage, his school, and his livelihood. Every coin that dropped into the open violin case was a drop of hope that one day he could turn his greatest dream into reality, to study music and become a professional violinist. Gabriel didn't come from a family of musicians. In fact, his love for music was an unexpected inheritance. His father, a factory worker, had bought the violin at a flea market years earlier as a birthday gift for Gabriel. It was a risky decision for someone with little money, but Gabriel's father believed music could offer something he never had, a path to dream beyond hardship. Life, however, was not kind to the family. At 11, Gabriel lost both parents in a car accident, leaving him alone in the world. Without close relatives, he had to leave school to work and survive. During those uncertain days, he rediscovered the violin, tucked away in a dusty corner. With no teacher and no resources, Gabriel began teaching himself. He listened to old recordings, copied what he could, and practiced for hours. When he realized he could play for an audience, he decided to head to the station. Nervous and shy, he started playing. At first, only a few people stopped to listen, but over time, his melodies began to catch attention. Little by little, Gabriel started to stand out at the station. Regular passengers began to recognize him. Children stopped in awe, pointing at the violin and asking him to play something cheerful. On some days, even soft applause echoed at the end of his performances. For Gabriel, though, it still wasn't enough. Despite his music touching people, he felt stuck in a cycle. He dreamed of a future where he could formally study music, play in orchestras, and, perhaps, travel the world. The challenge, however, was enormous. The money he earned barely covered the rent of a small room in a poor neighborhood and food. Spending money on lessons or a new violin seemed like an unreachable luxury. One rainy afternoon, while Gabriel played at the station, something unexpected happened. A well-dressed middle-aged woman stopped beside his performance and watched intently. Unlike the hurried passengers, she seemed in no rush. When Gabriel finished playing, she approached and said,
"That piece, you played it with so much emotion. Where did you learn?"
Gabriel hesitated for a moment before answering.
"I never had lessons. I taught myself."
The woman, who introduced herself as Beatriz, was a music teacher at a renowned conservatory. She was impressed by Gabriel's talent and intrigued by his story. After a brief conversation, she offered him something that seemed like a distant dream: free lessons.
"I want to help you. Your talent cannot stay confined here."
Gabriel accepted, emotional yet hesitant. He had never had a mentor before, and the idea of learning in a structured way was as exciting as it was intimidating. The first lessons with Beatriz were challenging. She wasn't just a skilled teacher, she was demanding and perfectionist. Gabriel, used to playing by ear, now had to learn to read sheet music, follow strict techniques, and correct habits he had developed on his own. Many nights, he came home exhausted, feeling he would never be good enough. But there was something inside him that wouldn't let him give up. He remembered his mother, who always told him, "You can be anything you want, as long as you never stop trying." In addition, his relationship with Beatriz became more than just teacher and student. She became a maternal figure for Gabriel, offering advice and even helping with small donations so he could replace the worn-out strings on his violin. Over time, Gabriel began to shine even brighter. He participated in small recitals organized by Beatriz, gaining experience performing for larger audiences. Still, he returned to the station every afternoon. That place was more than a source of income. It was his origin, his musical home. Beatriz knew Gabriel needed more. One day, she approached him with a proposal. A national competition for young musicians was coming up, with a full scholarship to a prestigious conservatory as the top prize.
You have to try.
Gabriel, however, hesitated. He had never competed before, and the idea of performing on such an important stage terrified him, but Beatriz insisted.
You have something many trained musicians don't. Gabriel, you play with heart. That's what touches people.
Motivated by his teacher, Gabriel decided to participate. He chose a piece by Bach, one of the most challenging he had ever attempted. For weeks, he practiced tirelessly. The day of the competition arrived. Gabriel was nervous but determined. At the auditorium, he saw other competitors, well-dressed young musicians with expensive instruments, accompanied by their families. He felt out of place, but remembered Beatriz's words, "You belong here as much as anyone else." When it was his turn, Gabriel stepped onto the stage. The auditorium was silent as he adjusted the strings on his violin. Then, he began to play. Every note seemed to carry years of struggle, pain, and hope. He didn't just play the piece, he lived it. When he finished, the silence in the audience lasted a few seconds before exploding into applause. Gabriel didn't win first place, but received an honorable mention and, with it, a partial scholarship to the conservatory. The scholarship marked the beginning of a new chapter for Gabriel. With Beatriz's help and some anonymous donations, he managed to cover the remaining costs and enroll in the conservatory. At first, he felt a bit lost among the other students, many of whom came from privileged backgrounds. But his passion for music and his life story quickly earned him the admiration of everyone. He began performing in orchestras, at events, and even in small solo concerts. Each performance was a celebration of his journey, a reminder that he had overcome adversity to get there. Years later, Gabriel became a renowned professional violinist. He performed on stages around the world but never forgot his roots. One day, he decided to return to the station where it all began. With a new violin in hand, he stood in the same corner he used to occupy and began to play. This time, the reaction was different. A crowd gathered around him, enchanted by the beauty of his music. At the end, he announced something special: the creation of a program to help young street musicians gain access to instruments and music lessons.
I started here, and I want to ensure others have the chance to achieve their dreams too.
Gabriel not only achieved his dream, he became a symbol of hope and resilience. His music was no longer just a source of livelihood but a bridge to change lives. And every time he played, he carried in each note the echo of the station where years earlier he had discovered the sound of hope. And so, Gabriel teaches us that talent and perseverance can transform lives, but the support of those who believe makes all the difference. Throughout this story, we see how small opportunities can become big changes. So, how about being that change in someone's life? Support independent artists, give space to beginners, and invest in dreams that are just starting to blossom. Every round of applause, every word of encouragement, and every act of generosity can be the push someone needs to reach a brighter future. After all, together, we can create a symphony of hope and inspiration. If you know someone with a dream, be the force that helps make that dream a reality. And remember, sometimes, a small action from you can echo throughout someone's entire life. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.